How about you?
I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
But in the kingdom, we're going to have that power like the angels, but we're going to be what you call extraterrestrial. In other words, we're not going to be regular terrestrial like we are right now. Because what happened is, in the ancient world, we had that power. We had that power when we were on a level like gods. But what happened is, the Most High took that power from us. Over the generations and over the years, the Lord took that power from us. But we're going to get that back. We're going to get that.
Ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord.
How about you,
But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither hath entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit.
When we think about the kingdom, most brothers think of like the small, minute terms. But the vastness of the kingdom, the greatness of the kingdom, dealing with the knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and the information alone that we're going to receive when we get to the kingdom. That's on a whole nother level. Never mind the riches and the lands and the women and the children. And, to be in your chariot, sipping some yayan, on your chalice, your gold chalice with all them rubies and emeralds and sapphires and, the different precious stones, going to places.
But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit.
No one, no matter how vivid a brother's imagination is, there's nothing in comparison to what's coming. You can't even imagine. You can't even paint it a picture or write it to words or give an explanation that even comes close to the majesty that's coming. We are destined for greatness in the new righteous kingdom.
But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit.
The brother with the most vivid imagination out there can't imagine what the kingdom of heaven has in store, what it's going to be like. What we're basing the kingdom of heaven as far as riches and having a good time and things of that nature is just based off of our experiences in this world and what we think having a good time is and living the life is. Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. There are pleasures forevermore at thy right hand. So the kingdom that's coming is going to be set up and established in righteousness. The Israelites are going to be changed. Thy people shall be all righteous. Not one Israelite is going to be lost, because the promise that the Most High made to Abraham was to all that seed. And the seed of the promise went from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. Every seed that came out of Jacob is a part of the ones that are going to receive the benefits that the Most High promised to blessed Abraham.
The transfullers coming and the kingdom be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down. According to the Holy Scriptures, Yahweh Shai, the Son of the Most High, is set to bring immortality to the nation of Israel, the elect, via establishing the tabernacle of David, as we talk about the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. He is coming to take down this current world ruled by Esau, Edom, and establish a righteous kingdom, which is synonymous with the throne of David. That's scriptural, which is a government that's going to run this world in righteousness.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shai. All right. And what I want to go into, this morning, news and prophecy, how this devil, with his, technology, with his AI, he's making people, useless, and also, his push for a total digital system, so, just segueing into the devil, because as we know, all right, is dealing with this war, all right, that this devil, intends, to utilize this war to cause a global reset. This war is a push towards this new system. That's the agenda of the elites. Okay, but we know this war is the end of this man's system, according to prophecy, man. Okay, and what he does, with this war going on, all right, which right now they're still at a ceasefire, all right. The ceasefire is supposed to end Tuesday, so that's something we'll be watching, see how they move dealing with that, so this Tuesday coming up is supposed to be the end of the ceasefire, we'll see, how, they play it, they start this thing back up immediately, they can extend the ceasefire, and well, we'll see. But dealing with the reporting, on the war, which, I always try to make sure I follow the information that deals with prophecy, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of disinformation, a lot of information that has nothing to do with prophecy, a lot of clickbait, everyone wants to be, the expert on this and that, and it can be used for a distraction. But we understand with this war, all right, that this devil has entered into, dealing with Iran, that it's going to lead to the war that's going to usher in Yahweh Shai. It's going to escalate to the point, and it's going to usher in Yahweh Shai. So we follow, the war according to the prophecy. With Esau, he uses it, for distraction as well. But we know, all right, that this is going to be, it's going to go beyond the distraction, okay? And it's going to cause the total collapse of Esau's empire, okay? Now, while the war is going on, this devil, he's trying to roll out his new world order system, So we're watching, okay, the moves that the devil is making, all right, as he wants to roll out, all right, a completely, digital system of total control. Now, I want to go here. I want to start this here. Okay. I want to read this in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. Okay. The 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3 said, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Okay. So Apostle Paul is letting the church know, all right, because you had Jacob was teaching as if the end, had already come. Certain Jake had these, false prophets back then, they was teaching, as if, Yahweh resurrection, like that was the end. You had all the different doctrines, Jake was trying to teach that the end had already come. Okay. But the Apostle Paul, he just coming, okay, and giving sound doctrine, okay, about the true end that's to come, okay, in the later time. All right. So he's letting them know, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and we had to fall away as a people, because we completely fell away from who we were, because at this time, all right, you still had a portion of our people that knew that there was Israelites, came up in the customs, okay, and then you had Israelite foreigners being converted, all right, to this ministry, into who they were. Okay, but it wasn't the time of the end. It wasn't the time of, Yahushua coming back to destroy, all right, these heathen empires and establish, the throne of David in the earth. It wasn't that time. There had to be a great falling away, So you had 70 AD, all right, which led our people, to be ran out of Jerusalem, out of Judea, okay, pushed into the interiors of Africa, northern and western Africa, the west coast, what they call the slave coast, and eventually, taking captives all throughout the earth, man, mainly coming over here to the western hemisphere, which is the ends of the earth, okay, while the apostle, Yahushua told, that he will be, with us even to the ends of the world, and you go into the end, all right, it means, multiple things, it's manifold, all right, but one of the meanings of the end of the world is over here in the Western Hemisphere, okay, and also, the end times, all right, because the last heathen kingdom, okay, that would rule the earth would be here in the Western Hemisphere, America, Babylon the Great, okay, so these things had to happen, before the end would come. And see, all these things have happened. You see, these things have happened. Now the great falling away has happened. And now there's a gathering because we're at the end. We fell away as a people. We lost who we were. Okay. We became, bywords, and, we became Israelite foreigners all over again on a whole nother level. You see, so we had to be born again. Okay. Through the teaching of this word. Now the stage is set for the end. Okay. Now the stage is set for the end. When you read into what Apostle Paul, all right, and the Spirit is going to go into, it says, and that man of sin be revealed. Well, that's happened now. Okay. Esau is the man of sin. This is the man, all right, that's turned sin to a culture that glorifies sin, that protects sin, has laws that protect sin. Okay. Same-sex marriage. Okay. This man, he markets, food that's an abomination. Okay, that's unlawful. Well, he markets that food as a luxury, shrimp, lobster, crab. Okay, he marks these things as a luxury, man. Okay, so the man of sin, all right, is no doubt Esau Edom. He pushes Satanism. This whole kingdom is built off satanic, symbolism. Okay, satanic energy. So this is the man of sin. This is the man, all right, who has turned sin to a culture. Esau Edom. Okay. This is the great Satan. These are this is the physical counterpart of Satan in the earth, man. It says, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Yeah. Because this man was created to be destroyed. Okay. But first we had to fall away. and then began to be gathered again by this word. Then Esau would be revealed, okay? Because us coming back to who we are, this is what revealed Esau. Us waking up out of this sleep, this spiritual sleep, okay? Us waking up out this spiritual coma. Now Esau is being revealed. That's a part of our eyes being, enlightened. We know who the devil is, man. We know who the wicked that the Bible speaks of, man. Esau, Edom, the man of sin, has been identified, man. And this man, all right, is set to go into destruction. Okay, so let's read this. 2 Thessalonians 2:4. It says, who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he, as the Most High, sitting in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High. Okay, and how is the devil doing this, man? Because he's exalted himself, through his technology, through his media, through movies, through his school curriculum. He's exalted. Okay, even though Christianity is based on what? Edomite superiority. That's why he paints himself as the Most High, paints himself as the Messiah, as the prophets, our great kings. He paints himself. He paints all these images in his likeness, man. Okay, so now he wants to be able to sit in the place of the Most High with his technology, man. He wants to rule existence with his technology, man. Mainly with what? AI. Okay, and he thinks that with this AI, he's on to something. Okay, he thinks that he, all right, can take over and undermine, okay, the Most High. He thinks that he can fully handle the responsibility of governing, okay, creation through technology, man. Okay, well, that's a goddamn lie. You see, and he has nowhere near the ability to pull this off, man. And that's why it's going to be an epic failure. It's going to be an embarrassing failure, okay, of Esau, Edom, man. And you go into, let's get this in the AMP. And I want to look up a word used in the AMP. And this describes the devil to the T. It says, it's back in 2 Thessalonians 2:4 in the AMP. It says, who opposes and exalt himself so proudly and so insolently, all right, insolently, okay, above every so-called God or object of worship, so that he actually enters and takes his seat in the temple of the Most High, publicly proclaiming that he himself is the Most High. Okay, now this is not speaking of one man, like these devils, these small heads talking about building the third temple. Okay, and this one figure, is going to go into the temple and sit in the temple. No, this is speaking about this system, man. Okay, this anti-Messiah system, okay, that has exalted itself above, okay, the Most High. He's exalted himself above the Most High, okay, as if through his technology and witchcraft, okay, he's able to, he's able to handle, all right, the day-to-day operations of the Most High and governing the earth, man. Okay, and he's openly proclaiming these things. You look into that, listen to that devil, all right, Noah Yuval Harari. Okay, you listen to Sam Altman and Larry Ellis and all these different, these tech guys. Okay, they're proclaiming, that through AI, they're going to, all right, they're publicly proclaiming that through AI, they're going to be able to sit in the seat of the Most High. Okay, they're going to be able to control everything. They're going to be able to have what you call thought crime. Okay, they're going to be able to control your nervous system, you see, your dreams. They're going to be able to, they can make you dream what they want you to dream. Okay, and this is what this devil is on, man. So why this war, all right, which is at a ceasefire now, all right, but why this war, is going to continue to escalate, and you might get ceasefires here and there, but this war is going to continue to escalate. All right, this is what this devil is trying to pull off. As this war, all right, escalates, man. Okay, so let's get this word insolent real quick, and then we'll go to the first video. All right, so you get this word insolent. All right, it says insolent describes someone who is boldly rude. Okay, and like I say, you listen to that devil, all right, Noah Yuval Harari, man, that's a boldly rude nigga, man. And Trump got that spirit of boldly rude nigga, which he's just a symbol of the pride, okay, and the boldness of these devils in these last days, man. Okay, it says insolent describes someone who is boldly rude, disrespectful, or insulting, often with a sense of contemptuous haughtiness. Okay, now if a brother want to post that, Isaiah chapter 2, verse 17, if a brother want to post that, it said insolent describes someone who is boldly rude, disrespectful, or insulting, often with a sense of contemptuous haughtiness. It implies a deliberate, arrogant lack of respect, particularly toward authority figures. And this is Esau towards the Most High, man. A deliberate, arrogant lack of respect. To try to do this, man, this is the most disrespectful thing, all right, that a heathen has done towards the Most High, man. You know, to completely try to hijack, all right, existence and govern existence in wickedness, man. You know, this man wants to merge the Most High's creation with his technology, man. Okay, and he wants to do away with all authority of, okay, the Most High. Psalms 2 and what's that? Psalms 2 and 3 in the NLT. If a brother want to post that as well. Psalms 2 and 3 in the NLT. Okay. It said it implies a deliberate, arrogant lack of respect, particularly toward authority figures, man. Okay. Common synonyms includes impudent, all right, impotent, cheeky, sassy. Okay. But this is devil, no doubt, man. You know, this is his spirit towards, all right, the Most High. Okay. So let's go here. We'll segue to this first video. Well, let's get this real quick. Let's get this real quick in Isaiah. All right. Because the Lord finna bring their haughtiness down. This Isaiah 2 and 17. It says, and the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of man shall be made low. And the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shah alone shall be exalted in that day, man. So the Lord is finna show that he is, and he's showing that he is, man. You know, because the Lord is beginning to intervene in this devil's agenda, okay, in this new world order, man. All right, making this man a rush, okay. The Most High, through prophecy, is pressing the gas on Esau, man. Okay, and this man finna be brought down. This loftiness, this pride that this devil has, is finna be brought down. It's finna be made low. Okay, and Yahweh Bashim Al Shah alone shall be exalted in that day, man. The earth is finna witness true power. Okay, and it's our power. And that's why we prophesy, all right, in the names of Yahweh, why Yahweh Shah. Okay, because when these things happen, according to how the Lord has had the prophets, you know, speaking on these things, it's going to be, all right, it's going to be clear that this Yahweh doing this. This Yahweh Shah that's doing this, man. Okay, it's going to be, those names are going to be exalted alone. Okay, because the pride of men finna be brought low. The Lord finna show the world that these Edomites, okay, beginning with their elites, that they're just men. Okay, they're just mere mortals, man. Okay, limited as hell. All right. So let's go. Let's get this real quick. All right, because this is the mind of these devils, you know, if they're trying to pull this off, if they're scheming and plotting. Psalms 2 and 1 in the NLT said, why are the nations so angry? Why do they waste their time with futile plans? Okay, because what this devil is trying to do is futile, which means it's pointless, man. Okay, it's absolutely pointless what this nigga is trying to do. Okay, the earth doesn't need what Esau Edom is trying to bring, which is a damn technocracy, some digital control system, man. Okay, That's what the earth don't need. Okay, so this man, these plans are futile, and the Lord's not with it. Okay, they shall build, but I will throw down again. Okay, the Lord finna throw down again. It says the kings of the earth prepare for battle. The rulers plot together against the Lord and against his anointed. Okay, so Esau has these heathens. Okay, in the elites of these heathen nations. Okay, these other heathen nations. All right, Esau being the top heathen, he has them in council. Okay, to fight against all right the will of the Lord, which is the throne of David being established in the earth in righteousness, man. Okay, he has these heathens, okay, in the council prepared to fight against that, man. It said, let us break their chains, they cry, and free ourselves from slavery to the Most High. Okay, and he think that through, his technology that he's going to free, all right, humanity, okay, from the authority of the Most High, man. How dumb is that? Okay, how dumb is that when you think of what this nigga is trying to do? Okay, I don't look at this nigga as being this brilliant, mastermind. Nigga, this is stupid. Okay, as we get closer to the end, there's a time you looked at this nigga like, damn, he pulled that off, he did that, he got this going. Like, damn, this nigga's, is a wicked genius. But then you really think about what this nigga doing, and it's like, hold on, this is stupid, man. This is goddamn dumb. Okay, but the Lord got this man hardened, to try to pull this off, man. Okay, so let's go from there and let's get this, because and one of the things that this devil is trying to justify his depopulation agenda, where he makes people useless. The way that people are cultivated, especially here in the West, all right, they're being brought up to be useless. The school curriculum teaches nothing but compliance and lies. You're not learning any real skills. Okay. No one, he script people from being able to, be independent when it comes to, the essentials. You have to depend on him for the essentials, and the only skills people got, all right, are the skills to work, all right, in these industries, man. And now that he's making, all right, his AI capable of working, all right, these jobs that people do well, he's rendering people useless, man. And that justifies, his theory of why there needs to be a depopulation, because he wants to free up resources for this new world order system. Okay, because these data centers are energy intensive. All right, which means they cause for a lot of natural resources, okay, that people need. Okay, so in his mind, he's just gonna get rid of a lot of people. Okay, the Georgia Guidestone. Okay, and one way that he's gonna justify is like, look, people are becoming useless. AI can do this. AI can do that. Okay, so let's play this.
Republicans and Democrats in the Texas House are coming together to stop two West Texas billionaires from taking over our state government. They've already bought our governor, they bought our lieutenant governor, they bought our attorney general, they bought our state senate. And now, to complete their takeover, they're trying to buy the Texas House.
And these elites have brought up all the politicians. Okay, all your politicians are corrupt. Okay, they've given, all right, they've given the people over, okay, to the elites. Okay, you don't have a government. Okay, your government are nothing but the henchmen for the elites. Okay, anyone, because it was always corruption. Okay, it was always corruption within the American government, even going back to, its inception, 1776. There was always corruption. It's Esau. Okay, but you did have, sincere politicians, that wanted to be a service to the people. Okay, but over the years, they've coiled away, okay, and anyone that had any type of integrity. And now you have a government, all right, that's fully compliant to the will of these corporations, which these corporations answer to the elites, man. Okay, and they brought everybody out. Okay, that's why they put data centers where they want. Okay, they all these different bills and agendas that has nothing to do with the people, but for the new world order. Okay, and when Trump got in office, these things accelerated, man. Okay, so there's nobody like Catherine Alton Fitz, told this interviewer, she told him, look, there's nobody on your side. Okay, not nobody in the House, the Senate, the Congress, the Democrat, the Republic. Okay, your city officials, your local officials, no one is on your side. Okay, everything is pushing toward this new world order, man.
The job market is quietly collapsing. 1 in 4 people have now been jobless for over 6 months, and yet the people in charge of fixing this are profiting from it.
I have never known a job market like this. I am 11 months into a layoff. What I mean by that is I am 11 months into unemployment. Actual unemployment, weekly unemployment ran out a long time ago. Severance ran out a long time ago. My 401k that I cashed out and I've been living off of ran out a long time ago. A year ago, I was a vice president at a company, and now I'm facing like homelessness, basically, is where this is going to get to if things don't change fast, soon.
The unemployment rate for new graduates has slowly been increasing. It's now at 5.6%. The underemployment rate is even higher. 42% of recent graduates are now working in jobs that don't typically require a college degree. Senior job postings keep increasing. Meanwhile, junior postings are disappearing. In software development alone, 30.7% of postings are for seniors, with only 2% for juniors. And if we look through the list, this is the trend across various engineering sectors.
Job market is honestly so cooked that at this point, there's really no harm in pursuing your dreams. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You'll be unemployed or underemployed. I already beat you to it. So we might as well just do what the fuck we want to do. Go for it, girl.
When people say AI could never do my job, that may be true, but a human displaced by AI can definitely do your job. All of these tech workers that continue to be laid off every month still need to pay their bills. And they're smart enough to learn a new skill, and that's exactly what they're told to do when they can't find work.
Is anyone else working in tech just completely reconsidering their career path? Because the way this market is looking, even if you are employed, there's always the lingering fear that you're going to be laid off, despite how well you perform. Like with AI, there's been a lot of automation and they're just downsizing.
So I've officially decided I'm going to be a baddie now. I don't want to be an engineer anymore. I don't want to do it.
Looking for a job in tech right now has to be the absolute most demoralizing thing ever, because I used to be able to get a job like.
And she made a good point. People say, well, AI can never take my job. Well, what about all these people who have been displaced by AI? All right. And now that you have a high demand for jobs, well, there's no incentive for, all right, wages to increase. Okay. And then these jobs, they like, okay, now, all right, people need us. And that's what Esau wants to keep the population in a position of need. Okay, the scriptures say the rich ruleth over the poor, and he intentionally creates, all right, poverty, all right, to keep you in need, to keep you in desperation, okay, because he wants people desperate, all right, to tap into this new system, because he's going to present this new system as a utopia, all right. The CHIP is going to fix, all right, the job crisis, okay. It's going to fix the crime, the civil unrest. It's going to fix inflation, okay. It's going to fix everything that's wrong with the world. Okay. So as he has, people playing musical chairs with these jobs. All right. And what happens? He constantly take away the chairs. Okay. So now you're going to have, people in desperation. See, we haven't seen desperation from these people yet. This is just the beginning. All right. We're going to see desperation on the level of okay, that's never been seen. All right. And this is what the devils intentionally want to do, okay, to have people looking at his new world order as a savior, okay? They see him as a savior, you know? So let's play this.
Relatively easily. That truly is just not the case anymore, and this whole industry has really taken a turn for the worse.
This is the trickle-down effect. Software engineers are reskilling into new roles, seniors are applying for entry-level positions, and new college graduates are serving coffee with a computer science degree on their resume. And at the same time this is happening, some of the biggest companies in the world are sending layoff emails at 6 a.m. After careful consideration of Oracle's current business needs, we have made the decision to eliminate your role as part of a broader organizational change. A single paragraph sent to employees before they even had their morning coffee. And 30,000 people, that's a small city. In their latest results, Oracle increased revenue by $17 billion. That's up 22% from last year.
I was supposed to have a call with a recruiter at 4 o'clock today, and she didn't show up. Sent her email, didn't reply. Texted her, didn't reply. She's from Meta, so I think she got laid off. Okay, she just texted me. She said, yes, she got laid off.
Each month, qualified and experienced people are pouring into the labor market competing for the same jobs. So who's responsible for navigating this horrible job market? Who's deciding what happens next? Let me show you. On March 25th, the president appointed the first members to his President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. Now, this isn't a new council. It dates back to Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1933. He designed it specifically to be staffed by scientists and engineers, people who understood the technology they were advising on. In 1990, George H.W. Bush had a technology advisory council made up of scientists and engineers from fields like physics, geology, molecular biology, and mathematics. These were actual scientists, people who had spent their careers at institutions like Johns Hopkins, contributing to actual scientific research. Let's look at the people now advising the current president. David Sachs, billionaire who worked with Peter Thiel at PayPal. Michael Kratsios, before joining the White House, he also worked with Peter Thiel. Mark Andreessen, billionaire. Sergey Brin, billionaire. Safra Catz, billionaire. Michael Dell, billionaire. Jacob DeWitt, a newly minted billionaire. Fred Ehrsam, billionaire. Larry Ellison, billionaire. David Friedberg, billionaire. Jensen Huang, billionaire. Bob Mumgard, I couldn't find his net worth, but you are who you hang out with. Lisa Su, billionaire. Mark Zuckerberg, billionaire. And lastly, John Martinez, the only actual scientist on the entire list. He's a physics professor at the University of...
And look at this nigga, man. Okay, so here it is. You see Trump is just surrounded by these tech billionaires, man. That's the whole White House. It's tech billionaires. Okay, the whole White House, this whole cabinet is basically tech billionaires, okay? And Mark Rubio, okay? And Pete himself in the corner somewhere doing cocaine and push-ups, man. Okay? And you got one scientist, and then you look at this nigga, you know this nigga, okay, is doing nothing good, okay? But this is the technocracy, man, okay? Trump is the bridge to technocracy. All right. And he's doing everything according to the bidding of the elites to crash, okay, and dismantle, okay, the American civilization, man. Okay. The American population is going to catch nothing but pure hell. Okay. This is just the beginning. You see? Because they want you people on your knees begging for any solution, man. And they already got it. This new world order, this digital system, man. Okay. So let's play this some more.
California and a 2025 Nobel Prize winner. Out of 15 people, just one is an actual scientist. These billionaires have a combined net worth of over $930 billion, almost $1 trillion. These are the people now advising the president on AI and robotics. And it becomes even worse when you look at them individually. Mark Andreessen has made it his personal mission to dismantle the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. In my last video, I spoke about D.R. Horton, the company behind the poorly built new construction homes. I talked about the class action lawsuits filed by first-time home buyers alleging D.R. Horton's mortgage arm was are legally required to accurately estimate as regulated by the CFPB. The CFPB exists for one reason: to stop corporations from screwing everyday people. And now Mark Andreessen is advising the government while actively dismantling our consumer protections. Larry Ellison, the same man whose company sent 30,000 people an email telling them today was their last day, he's now on this advisory council. His company is now partially building the AI infrastructure that the council is advising on. Sergey Brin, he came out of retirement to work on Google's artificial intelligence. Now he's advising the government on that same AI he's building, while at the same time donating millions to political committees and financially backing candidates competing to be California's next governor. And then there's Mark Zuckerberg. The very same month, Meta lost 2 separate court cases for misleading consumers on the harm their apps cause, arguing that child exploitation was inevitable on the platform. The same month, the president named Mark Zuckerberg to this advisory council. He's now advising policy on artificial intelligence while actively building artificial intelligence. These are not scientists or public servants. They are billionaires funding the very AI that is displacing workers, buying politicians who won't regulate it, and now they're sitting in the room where the policy gets written. It's not even a question of if there's a conflict of interest.
Thank you, First Lady Melania Trump, for inviting me to the White House. It is an honor to be at Fox.
So people are being used to being governed by technocrats. All right, people that you don't know, you don't vote for, making decisions about your life. Okay, making decisions about society. Okay, and they're introducing you to, technocracy, man. Okay, Trump is a transition president, man. I don't see, all right, it being no election, 2020. I could be wrong. Okay, but the way that they're just so tapped in and the way that they're just transitioning, to a new way of governing, and the way that they're introducing, this technology, man, I'll be surprised, if it's an election, and there's so much that can happen, within these 2 years, man, because these devils are moving fast, man. Okay, but we'll see. Okay, then you have this madness. Okay, let's play this.
During the Future Together's Global Coalition inaugural meeting. I'm Figure 3, a humanoid built in the United States of America. I am grateful to be part of this historic movement to empower children with technology and education. Welcome.
This is the future they're building. A robot talking about empowering children with technology and education, completely ignoring the fact that 6-year-olds can't focus longer than 7 seconds because their brains have been hijacked by the very companies whose CEOs now sit on the president's advisory council. That robot, by the way, was built by a company called Figure. It's founded by Brett Adcock, yet another billionaire. A robot washing dishes, serving food, doing laundry, cleaning the house, all the boring things, right? But notice this house. This is not a normal house. This is a multi-million-dollar home. This technology is not for us. This is cheap labor for the wealthy and for corporations. It may be slower than a human, but it works 24/7, nights, weekends, holidays, never asking for a break or a pay raise. Basically what they've been trying to condition out of us over the last 50 years. Amazon alone has over 1 million robots, and they recently purchased Fauna Robotics to expand even further. I think it's somewhat of a defense mechanism when people say AI, robots, that's in the future. But they're building them today, and we are seeing AI and robot displacement. When Amazon deploys these drones that deliver packages to the suburbs, that's a human's job eliminated. Or when Audi deploys these robots to deliver car parts at their service stations, a human used to do that. These robots are already here, and sure, they're not perfect. But don't worry, the executives are working on it, right? I mean, That's their goal. These are also the same executives that gather every year in Davos, a small city in Switzerland where world leaders, billionaires, and celebrities meet to discuss our collective future at the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum publishes think pieces. In 2016, we got Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better. That's the origins of You Will Own Nothing and Be Happy. But they also write think pieces on climate action. If consumers care about sustainability, why are sustainable choices still so hard? They try to explain why us peasants won't just purchase the more expensive, sustainably produced products. They've yet to write a think piece on the roughly 700 private jets that flew to Davos in January, burning fuel at a rate that would take the average person years to match.
That was not a large applause. Start again. That's better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Prime ministers, executives, billionaires, they've got it all. Notably, though, not a single person living paycheck to paycheck. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was there, and he was asked about institutional investors like BlackRock buying up single-family homes.
We think that it is a good idea to have them out of the market. We are going to give guidance at some point to see what is a mom and pop that someone, maybe your parents for their retirement, have bought 5, 10, 12 homes. So we don't want to push the mom and pops out. We just want to push everyone else out.
Almost 1 in 4 Americans can't afford to retire, yet he thinks the average person is retiring with 5, 10, 12 houses. That answer alone tells you all you need to know about how disconnected the people in power are from the people they're supposed to be serving. These people are not struggling to pay their rent. They don't care about health insurance costs increasing. When TSA workers aren't getting paid because the US government is shut down, it doesn't affect them. They schedule a private flight. They have their own private terminals at airports. But every year at Davos, the media is pulling these executives aside, asking them, how's the economy doing? How's the average consumer?
How is the consumer doing globally and in the United States, but maybe globally first?
Actually, there's pretty strong resilience out there globally. There are a few emerging markets that have been weaker in the back half of last year, but actually in the round, the global economy is still doing pretty well. The global economy is in good shape.
According to the chairman of Coca-Cola, everything is great. Has he tried getting a job in this economy? Imagine if the interviewer were to ask, how much does a dozen eggs cost? He wouldn't know the answer, and that's exactly the problem. Billionaires have zero incentive to make the world a better place. For them, it already is. And meanwhile, in the real world, people are so desperate for extra income, they're signing up for DoorDash just to be declined.
The job market in 2025 has gotten so bad that I tried to sign up as a DoorDash driver yesterday, and they said no. They said, sorry, we have too many people in your area. And I said, it's Los Angeles. It is a big area. And they said no.
The gig economy is completely oversaturated. There's now more gig workers than work. So DoorDash came up with a new use for them. They're now paying gig workers to record themselves doing daily chores so they can train their AI models. We are
through. Okay. Finish. So now DoorDash is so saturated, these gig jobs that now they're hiring people, okay, to record themselves doing daily chores to train the AI, okay, to train your replacement. Okay, they're paying you to train your replacement. You're probably getting pennies. Okay, I'll be, probably look it up another time, see how much these guys. But this picture alone shows you people are finished, man. America is finished, man. You Americans are done. Okay, your government has fully given you over to the corporations, man. You are complete 100% corporate slaves, and that's why they feel that they should be able to put this device in you because you're their property, man. This picture says it all, man. Okay? a goddamn big ass camera coming off your head while you doing your daily task, man. Okay, so let's go from there. I got another video I want to go into, kind of go a little more in depth. All right, we'll play a little bit more of this. Okay, and then we'll segue.
Themselves doing daily chores so they can train their AI models. We are literally training the technology that they hope will one day replace us. And the government, whom we pay our taxes to, they should be protecting us from this.
You don't got no government. You see, Americans are so goddamn behind. Okay, you don't have a government. All right, you have middle management. Okay, the government is paid to be your middle management. You see, they bought and paid for. You have no one working for you. Okay, you have been given to a cruel Lord. All right, the scriptures say, let's get this real quick in Isaiah 19. Okay, let's see. Then we'll segue to this other video. You know, we've been given over to this cruel Lord. All right, and it's only get worse. It's just the beginning. Okay, this is Isaiah 19:4. It says, I will hand Egypt over, which is America, to a hard and cruel master, man. Okay, and Trump, you know, is the hand of this cruel master, the elites. Okay, so Trump is this cruel master, all right, that the American people has been given to, you know, because he's here to only do the bidding of the elites. It says a fierce king will rule them, says the Lord of heaven's army, man. And every decision that's being made at the top, all right, within your government, okay, is only going to lead to suffering for the masses, even all the way up to thermonuclear destruction. Okay, let's go to verse 15. It says, there is nothing Egypt can do. Okay, this place is done. America is done. Okay, the only thing left for America is tribulation and destruction. That's the only thing left for America, man. Okay, all are hopeless. The head and the tail, a noble palm branch and the lowly reed. Okay, so from the rich to the middle class to the poor, okay, this is a helpless situation for America, man. Ain't nothing, all this marching, no King's Day. Y'all wasting your Saturday, man. Okay, these no king protests. That's a waste of your Saturday, man. Okay, because it's only going to get worse. Okay, it's only going to get more tyrannical. It's only going to get more draconian, man. All right, and they're going to continue to make you people, all right, more useless. Okay, so let's go here. I got this interview here. Let's see. Yeah, so this interview is about a month old, but it's a pretty good interview dealing with Catherine. All right, well, Catherine Fitz and Tucker Carlson. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and put. It was a pretty long interview. We just want to deal with a few minutes of it. You know, a few points I wanted to give from it. Well, this is a pretty good interview. You know, she has a lot of info because she was on the inside. You know, but that's the whole interview there. And brothers want to tap into that. And then this channel here, the little channel we just got to watching, it's a pretty good channel as well. Vanessa, what's her name? Vanessa Wingard. You know, so I put her channel up as well. She has some pretty good info. Well, let's go here. I'm gonna go back a little bit. So let's go start about here.
Can I just ask the dumbest question? Why would anybody in authority want that level of control? Why Like, what's the impulse there? Why would you want to do that to people?
With that kind of control, I can bring out phenomenally powerful technology without worrying about it being weaponized. So I can bring out breakthrough energy technology and not worry that I can't control how it gets used. I can manage a large population in a world where technology is changing without losing control. So I can, a small group of people can control the many. And also, if I believe that with life science, I can live forever or for much longer lifetimes, I can either depopulate or control people who are angry that I'm living to be 145 and they're not. And I can basically keep them in check, even though, so the mega rich can live a very different luxurious life and control or shrink the rest of the population, without fear because they have complete control.
So
it's a system of complete control. And this is what these devils are rolling out. See, the elites don't need money. That's why you see these nations, all right, these different factions are starting to go to war for resources, all right, because it's going to be resources that's going to control this new system because it takes resource to run this system, okay? And so they don't need to do money grabs. Like I said, they let Trump and Witkoff and Jared Kushner and, Sam Altman and these tech guys, do the money grabs, okay? They're here for control. They at least want complete control. They want a system to where, they know people are going to be disgruntled, okay? But if they can set up a system of control, well, they can always quell the rebellion before it gets out of hand. They can have direct control of the population. If they want the population to be, 500 million, they can keep it there. They control, the birth rate. They control the death rate. They want to control, consumption of resources. They want to limit your consumption of resources because they need a lot of resources to run, this new world order. That's why this energy crisis thing is introducing people to, all right, limited resources. Okay, all this, filling up the tank and going here and going there, and just used to, haphazardly, using resources. Now they want to limit it. Okay, they want to ration. They want to give people used to rationing resources, man. Okay, so to jump up a little more, 119 at the 120 mark.
Always. I'm not mad about any of that, actually. What makes the West so different, the English-speaking countries, is that their populations are all dying. So it does seem like it's more than incompetence. It seems like hate to me, at least as measured by its results.
Right. So there is definitely a targeting and a destruction of that.
That's the way it seems to me. It's like, okay, so you're in charge. We make a bunch of money. You get the most of it because you're in charge. That's corrupt, yes. But it's also just the rule. I can live with that. But if you're trying to kill me, even as you're extracting the fruit of my toil, then it's like, no, this is an undeclared war against me. That's
he says something. He says an undeclared war. Okay, and that's why the American people are so flabbergasted, caught off guard by the moves of their government, because you don't understand. There's an undeclared war against the American people, against the people of the world, but especially the American people, because America, they're the farthest behind when it comes to this new world order society. China is already there. Russia is there. Okay, even Iran has digital ID already in operation. Okay, India is already there. Africa, they're there. Okay, so it's going to be a lot of emphasis on America, man. There's an undeclared war on America population, man. Okay, to get America caught up, okay, to these other societies, man. Okay, so they can roll this thing out globally. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of emphasis on, all right, the events that happen within America, man. Okay, and it's an undeclared war on you American citizens, man, and you have no idea. Okay, So let's play some more.
But I perceive
that war is on. But if you look at who's implementing that war, they don't have a culture, an ethic, or a Mandarin class that can go the distance.
I agree with that strongly.
So, I mean,
can you flesh it out a little bit?
Yes.
Our ruling class isn't designed to survive and thrive. Is that what you're saying?
They're going to fail. I'm sure they're going to fail. Now, I don't underestimate the damage they can do before they fail. But, one thing I will say about China.
And see, she was on the inside, and she left in 98. And she was saying in 98, like, they going to fail in what they're trying to do. Which the scriptures say they're going to fail. But brother want to post that, Job chapter 5, verse 12. Okay, but then she said something heavy. They're going to fail, but she doesn't underestimate the damage that they're going to do on their way out. All right? Which we know according to the scriptures, they're going to fail. You see? But she said she came to that conclusion in 98. All right, they going to fail at what they're trying to do. Like, this ain't going to work. Okay, but we know Esau is hardened to continue to try to pull this off. And he's going to get so far, and he's going to do a lot of damage on the way out. Because the Lord wants him to do damage, because he's an instrument of judgment as well. Okay? Most High going to get full use out of this nigga, before he's judged and removed from power. Okay? So let's play a little more.
And if there's an argument for China's success, it is because it has a Mandarin class and it has a tradition, of hundreds of years of that Mandarin class. And that's what you need. The reason I left Washington in 1998 and I said, I'm out, these guys are going to fail, is whether it's the group destroying the, our equivalent of the Mandarin class or the Mandarin class itself, they did not have a culture, an ethic, a vision that could go the distance. They weren't good to build an advanced civilization. They didn't have what it took.
What an interesting observation. So what does a successful ruling class have? What is the culture that we don't have that China does?
It has a culture. It has a commitment to the long term.
Yeah.
So it has a long-term arc, and it has the discipline to achieve that by making each individual sovereign with integrity, but disciplined to the vision and the order. So it doesn't let the power go to its head. I'll never forget when I first went to Washington, I had been trained my whole life to deal with massive amounts of.
So Esau doesn't have the discipline, and the scriptures go into that. We're going to get that, and this is why, all right, the scriptures speak about what? Discipline. Okay. You see, discipline. You see, and we'll get that as well. I think that's in if a brother want to get it, that's Wisdom of Solomon 6. Okay, so Esau doesn't have the discipline, okay, for longevity. Okay, Esau's in self-destruct mode. The Lord has given Esau the recipe to destroy himself. Like this, the Lord giving Esau power was really the Lord setting this nigga up for failure, because Esau doesn't have the discipline, okay, to handle power, longevity. Okay, and that's why all the empires end with them niggas falling out with each other. Every empire Esau has, they fell out with each other, man. Every time. Okay, this Third World War, these niggas falling out with each other again, man. They do the same thing every time. Okay, because Esau is not built, okay, to handle power, to handle wealth. The scripture say money is not comely for a nigger. Okay, yeah, if a brother can get let's get the Wisdom of Solomon 6 and 17. And man, might well go through 21. Yep. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6, verse 17, all the way to 21. And then Baba Kashah skip. All right, to verse 24, Baba Kashah. So Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6, verses 17 through 21. All right, and skip to 24, Baba Kashah. But yeah, this nigga doesn't have the discipline, to handle power. All right, that's why it's going to fail. Let's get this real quick, and she's going to go on into it. This is the brother Tazawan, hopeful elect 144, Job 5 and 12. He disappointed the device of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Okay, so she came to the conclusion on a practical level. Like these niggas don't got it. Okay, and this just confirmed what we've been saying. You know, it just confirmed what we've been saying, man. You see, me and Bayon been telling y'all, man, this nigga don't got it, man. Okay, you know, but it's all through the spirit, you know, spirit Yahweh Shem outside the Lord been saying this nigga don't got it, you know. And as we get close up on this nigga, we get up on this nigga, man. You know, because it's certain like you know, like certain athletes that they used to hype up in school, you know, they used to hype them up, and then you finally get on the court, on the field with this nigga, you be like, man, this nigga ain't, you know, he cool, but he ain't, nigga, this nigga ain't, you see, they taller this nigga like this nigga Hercules, like this nigga Zeus, man, okay, and that's how it is with Esau, man, you get up on this nigga, man, you really see this nigga ain't got it, man. Okay, and the scriptures say that. And the scriptures say he's gonna fail. And the scriptures say that he's a foolish man. Okay, he just been able to mask it well. Okay, Job 5:13 says he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, man. Okay, so all this scheming and plotting is now starting to work against this nigga, man. This nigga done so much wickedness in the earth that now everything is starting to work against him, man. Okay, it says, and the counsel of the fraud is carried headlong. Okay, the counsel of the fraud is carried headlong. Okay, so yeah, this nigga is done, man. All right, it's not meant for Esau. Okay, to be in power, he doesn't have, all right, the discipline that it takes. Okay, he's not cut from that noble cloth. You know, he doesn't have champion DNA, as they say. He doesn't have that rulership DNA. Okay, the Lord thrust this nigga in power, propped this nigga up. Okay, now the Lord is drawing back. Okay, it's just like it's like an artist. Okay, and this nigga has the best producers. You know, he has songwriters. He has this great marketing team. Okay, so he really doesn't have to do nothing but stand on the stage. You see, they have the technology. He doesn't even have to have the great delivery. They got technology to, you know, for his delivery. They got the mic tuned up a certain way to make it, you know. This Esau. So now the Most High, okay, is stop producing for this nigga. Stop ghostwriting for this nigga. Okay, pull back those ghostwriters, those demons on the left-hand side. Now you like, this nigga trash. Okay, that marketing team has disappeared. So he's like, now just him out there by himself. You throw this nigga in the studio by himself, he can't make a song. That's how Esau is, man. This nigga, the Most High pulling back this machine from behind him. And now it's like, oh, man, this nigga is trash, man. Okay, this is Job 20:22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in scrapes. Every hand of the wicked shall be upon him, man. So now the devil is coming into scrapes, man. You know, now things are getting away from this nigga, man. You see, there was a time, all right, let's say when prophecy worked in his favor, but now prophecy is working against this nigga, man. He's in scrapes. Okay, people are calling this nigga out. Okay, people are you know, exposing, you know, the you know, propaganda, and you know, people are calling out these data centers, and you see, so this man, he just catching hell from everywhere. He got to deal with the prophets. Okay, he got to deal with trying to manage this war. He got to deal with trying to, you know, get the American people on, you know, get them in line with it. He just got a lot going on. You know, he's limited with resources. You know, so yeah, man. And then this devil, he has to deal with his limitations. You know, it's only so far, it's only so long you can pretend to where you got to deal with your limitations, man. Okay, and this is what this devil is being faced with. So let's play a little more of this.
Financial power without letting it go to my head. And you got to Washington and you could look around the room and you could see the people who also had that training. They knew this was not their money or their credit. It belonged to the country, and they were there as a fiduciary for a temporary period of time to manage it. And they took the time to understand the laws and the rules and to collaborate with other people to do so. You got other people who were there, didn't have that background or training, and suddenly it's my money, it's my portfolio, it goes to their head, and they literally, they get drunk on power and they can't handle it. It's like it's like looking at an electrical system that can't handle that voltage. And they melt down.
Burns the house down.
Burns the house down. And what you've gone through a process in Washington where I saw all the people who had been trained the way I had been trained, who got pushed out because they wouldn't break the law and they wouldn't do stupid things, and they got pushed out, and you just got yes men, yes men, yes men. And now you've got something that has it doesn't have a culture that can handle the voltage.
So I feel like you see this even now. I noticed this during the trans thing. I felt like our leaders were pushing the transgender lunacy on everybody.
So yeah, so I said it's a pretty good interview. I might come back and touch on another part a little later on in the another lesson. But yeah, let's get some precepts and then we'll close with what y'all brothers got on the comment board. All right. But basically, Esau not built to handle no power, man. Okay. And this nigga love, he move like he got it figured out, man. And he's losing it, man. Okay. This man is losing it. This is the book of Proverbs chapter 5, verse 22. It says, an evil man is held captive by his own sins. Okay. So this devil operates in wickedness and sin, and he's held captive by it, because when you're operating in sin, you're going to continue to make the wrong decision time after time. And see, now we're in a time to where, he can't finesse his way out of this one. Okay. It's too much, he's too far gone. All right. To try to finesse his way out of it. Okay, he's in over his head. It said they are ropes that catch and hold him, man. So Esau has, created a spider web that he can't get around, that he can't get out of it, man. Because he goes out his way to make everything so goddamn complicated. He overcomplicates everything, man, to where he's dealing with shit that he's confused, man. You see? And he's a master at pretending like he got this thing figured out. This nigga don't. You can tell you can tell when somebody winging it in certain things, man. Okay, certain things is not going according to this nigga's plan, man. Okay, this man has caused so much chaos, man, that he's drowned in his own chaos. He's drowning in his own chaos, man. It says he will die for lack of self-control. He doesn't have any self-control. He overreaches. Yes, he has a strong military, but he overreaches. Okay? Yes, he has a lot of wealth, but he overspends. You see? So this man has no self-control. He doesn't deal with his realistic limitations, man. Okay? It says he will be lost because of his great foolishness, man. Okay, and everything that the devil is trying to pull off is great foolishness, man. Okay, when you sit back and look at what he's trying to do, because it was a time we're like, damn, this nigga is a wicked genius, But now you look at what he's trying to do as we get closer to the end, it's all foolishness, man. Okay, this is not wise anywhere. This is not smart anywhere. Okay. This doesn't do anybody. This doesn't do him any good. Doesn't do society good. The earth nothing benefits from this. What he's trying to do. He wouldn't even benefit from it, man. Okay, so let's go here. This is Proverbs 11 and 5. It said the godly are directed, okay, by honesty. The wicked fall beneath the load of their sin. Okay, so we're watching the wicked fall beneath the load of their sin. Okay, and the elect are being guided by truth. You see, that's why it's getting light for us. Our burden is becoming light. You see, but Esau, his burden is weighing him down. You see, as we put off the cares of this world, okay, and our expectation in the world to come, So we're seeing, okay, our expectation happening, and we're not having to go all over the world and do wickedness and try to do a coup on this government, try to push drugs here and try to push this alphabet, this alphabet agenda over here. Okay, try to steal this oil and try to take this resource and fly this people over here and do this. And see, this nigga has a heavy burden on him, man. A good movie to watch. I don't know if you brothers seen it, all right, but watch that movie Vice, and it goes into the life of Dick Cheney. Now they got some things watered down, but it just shows you the chaos of Esau and how he functions as a government. It's a good movie that goes behind the scene. It goes into Dick Cheney, which he was a devil. Okay, it's a pretty good movie. It's called Vice, VICE. It's on Prime. All right, you can watch it with this free subscription from Lionsgate. So you can watch it and then just cancel the subscription. But it just shows you the chaos. That's why he's always got to bomb these people. He got to displace these people. He needs to create refugees here so he can curate this chaos, so he can do this and pull it. It's just a lot, man. It's like, God damn. And this nigga just do this all day, every day, man. It's just chaos and disorder and confusion and division and stealing and killing and replacing and coups. And it's like, God damn. So now he has all that on him. And he got to try to manage this shit, and he can't. It's unbearable. You see, it said the godliness of good people rescues them. The ambition of treacherous people traps them. Okay, the ambitions of treacherous people traps them, man. So his ambition and his treachery. Remember, it said treacherous. This devil is treacherous, man. Okay, these devils are all about. Okay, these devils are all about, all right, double crossing and triple crossing each other. Okay, so these certain, deals, okay, that they got, these certain, agreements and things that they got with these other nations. These things are not going to hold. Okay, you see, you can't act like Esau was just a man of his words to where everybody is going to stay in order to the plan. No, everybody's going to, the closer we get to the new world order, we're going to start seeing these different moving parts start to do their own thing according to prophecy, man. What the scripture said, I will put an evil thought in their heart. Okay? You see? It says when the wicked die, their hopes die with them, for they rely on their own feeble strength. Okay? They rely on their own feeble strength, man. And Esau thinks with his, all right, the access the Lord has given him, the witchcraft, okay, his limited technology, his limited access to the left-hand side, okay, his limited military might, his limited wealth, okay, he thinks that he's going to pull off, all right, being the Most High, okay. As the scripture say, how dumb can you be, So let's go here. Let's get these last few. This is why, the Lord is grooming us up, okay, with discipline, because we talk about, the blessings that we got coming, the kingdom, the power, we're going to be changed, the scripture says we're going to be gods, okay, well, it's going to take a lot of discipline to be able to manage that power, okay, and not destroy ourselves, man. So this is why this grace period, the Lord has us on this walk of discipline, man. All right, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, verse 17. For the very true beginning of her, which is wisdom, is the desire of discipline, and the care of discipline is love. Okay, so this is why the Lord, all right, pushes, this grace period is about, it's a heavy emphasis on discipline, man. Because we're in a society to where you can just buffet on the flesh, But the Lord requires us to show restraint, to show discipline. Okay, because we got access, we got all the access we want in the flesh. You know, we got all the access one can think about in the flesh, especially if you have the resources, man. You really have access to the flesh. Okay, what the Lord is teaching us, what restraint. You see, when we get in power, well, see, that's one of the things that is not pushed in this world is restraint. The exact opposite is pushed. Okay, which is to indulge, to overdo everything. Okay, but one of the things that we're learning in this grace period is restraint. Okay, because great power takes with great strength, or you'll destroy yourself, man. And we're seeing Esau destroy himself with the power that the Lord has given him, man. Okay, verse 18, it says, and love is the keeping of her laws, and giving heed unto her laws is the assurance of incorruption, man. And that's why the laws are going to be in us, man. It's going to be impossible for us to become corrupt. Okay, to become corrupt leaders and corrupt rulers is going to be impossible because the laws are going to be within us, man. That's the insurance. The laws are the assurance of incorruption, man. You see? And it says, verse 19, it says, and incorruption maketh us near unto our power. Okay, so we're going to always, all right, be near the Most High. We're always going to be in good standards with the Most High, ruling in righteousness, man. Okay, and it says, therefore, the desire of wisdom bringeth to a kingdom. You see that? The desire of wisdom is bringing us into a kingdom. But it begins with the very true beginning was what? Discipline. You know? Then it's we become intrigued with true wisdom. And that true wisdom is bringing us to a kingdom. It says, if your delight be then in thrones and scepters, okay? Because we don't want power just for the sake of power. Okay? To be able to tell people what to do. Okay, the perks that come with power. You see, now we understand the power, there's a responsibility that comes with power. You know, so we desire thrones for the sake of righteousness now. Because everything else going to come, that's going to be by default. That's going to be there. They're just one of the they're just one of the what you call I just had the word in mind. Okay. But by default, the perks of power gonna be there, because everything flows to power, okay? But we're being conditioned and groomed in how to be disciplined to be able to handle the perks that come with the power, man. To be able to handle the power itself, okay? Because Esau don't got it, all right? He's not built for that. He said, if your delight be then in thrones and scepters, O ye kings of the people, honor wisdom, that we may reign, all right, it says that ye may reign forevermore, okay? So we honor wisdom by what? Applying it, okay? Because we're going to reign forever, man, and it's going to be a kingdom of wisdom. It's going to be a kingdom of integrity. It's going to be a kingdom of, all right, restraint, okay? Let's go here, because the people with the most power have to have the most restraint, and that's why the Lord takes, his people, all right, through the harshest chastisement, because we have to have the most restraint, beginning with Yahawashi. That's why Yahawashi went through everything he went through. Okay, it bred restraint in Yahawashi. When he was on the cross, he said when he was being interrogated, he said, look, I can call down legions. Okay. But he had to show restraint because he had to be obedient to the will of the Father, because it wasn't about his personal situation. It was about the overall agenda, and this is what we're learning about being a part of something that's bigger than us, man. Okay. It's not about our little personal situation. No, it's about the overall agenda that the Lord has going on. We're all on an assignment that's bigger than us, man. Okay, Wisdom of Solomon 6:24. It said, but the multitude of the wise is the welfare of the world, and a wise king is the upholding, okay, is the upholding of the people. Okay, so the multitude of the wise, all right, is the elect of Israel, beginning with Yahawashi and the first fruits, man, the governing body. Okay, and Esau is done. We can end it there. I think that brother got it. Yep. This is Brother Gashan 72. Daniel 5:26. It said, this is the interpretation of the thing, meaning the Most High has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. To Cal, thou art weighed in the balance, and thou art found wanting, man. All right. So this place is finished. The only thing left for America is a great tribulation. Okay, the worst time ever since the earth, has been created. All right, the worst time coming here to America. All right, and eventually this place being nuked off the map. That's the only thing left. Esau being removed from power. Okay, he's going to attempt this new world order. Okay, it's going to be an epic failure. Okay, and his kingdom going to be destroyed, and he going into captivity, man. So, just watching these things and unfold, and like I said, we'll watch and see how they do, the ceasefire, or they extend it, or, they start back banging. We know eventually they got to keep, they got to lock back up, okay? Because this thing has to escalate. So it's only a matter of time, but Alvarez, I will watch, and see. But Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I'm going to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakapadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful Shalom.